I left my homeland in 1997, and I've only been back twice. The first time, just after I got my Canadian citizenship, I went back and I paid my respects to my parents, to my childhood neighbors, to my in-laws, to everybody I should have paid respects. And 3 weeks after, I was exhausted, mentally drained, terrorized, because my mother's home is inhabited by the largest colony of tropical cockroaches you can ever see. And a few weeks after I came back to Canada, 2 airplanes intentionally hit the Twin Towers and our world changed. A year later, I emigrated once more to Oklahoma, which is a different country from this. And I was under the umbrella of an oil company where my ex-husband used to work. And I decided to travel through Europe because I didn't want to pay respect to parents, in-laws, childhood friends anymore. But after a few years, I was tired of cathedrals and museums, so I decided I would go back home and visited the 2 places I would rather die than not see again. One of those places is the Los Roques National Park, which is an archipelago off the coast of Venezuela on the Caribbean. And the second place is the Salto Ángel. The Salto Ángel is the highest waterfall in the world and is considered one of the 7 wonders of the world. It is the river is born atop of Aullantepui, which is a tabletop mountain that is made of a basement granite rock that is 1.7 billion years old, go figure. So the river is born there, and it falls 3,500 feet into the void, making a curtain of wall behind which there is the largest collection of orchids that you could ever imagine.
Wow.
And that's what I wanted to see. I went as a tourist because as a Venezuelan, all those years back, the 32 years that I lived in my country, I could have never afforded anything like that. I prepared for months, packing, making my route, buying my tickets, reserving whatever I needed to reserve to get there. But I made sure that in the backpack that I carried with me, I had a brand new bottle of prescription anti-anxiety medication and a brand new bottle of antipsychotics, because I have a mental disorder, and that was not gonna get in the way of my getting to check off my bucket list. So I was expecting to find giant anteaters, giant armadillos, jaguars, tapirs, white-faced monkeys, and anything you can imagine that you can encounter in that divine place. Not to mention the orchids and the bromeliads that grow on the tree trunks of ancient trees in the most biodiverse place on earth, in the northern basin of the Amazon River, in the thick of the rainforest tropical jungle. Okay? And off I went with my son. All along the way, there were cockroaches. I went from an international flight into Maiquetía International Airport near Caracas, and from there we took a small plane to Ciudad Bolívar, which is a historic city in the southern side of Venezuela. Okay? And we spent about 6 days inside this colonial house, beautiful colonial house with an inside patio, and every night religiously I would take my meds while my child, 12-year-old then, will kill cockroaches, more or less the ones you find in Los Angeles. 6 weeks after 6 days after, we took a small Cessna plane, 4-seat, where the pilot will wait for his signal to fly with the window open and the arm out. Okay. And we soon were flying on top of what I can only describe as a green ocean. And that's the jungle from above. We landed on a dirt strip. And on the same window open, the pilot will signal the pedestrians to get out of the way because we were landing. So we got to Coiman National Park, which is the home of the Coiman Indians in Venezuela, who are the guardians of the Angel Falls. Churum Merum, as they call it in their language. We spent the night in a churruata, which is a hut that can house about 50 people. That's actually how the Indian lives, okay? Because they live in community, about 50 people at the time. We slept in hammocks. And I made sure that I carried with me at least a flimsy sheet because I knew I would wake up covered with any sort of crawling things, right? Next day, we rented a boat, a motorboat, to go upriver because the falls, the river is born on top of the mountain and runs downhill. So to get to the fall, you have to ride the boat up the river. So we rented a boat. There were only 5 occupants on the boat. 2 Indians, one the captain, another helper, an American whom I only know by Brian, my 12-year-old son, and me. And for some reason, the boat kept getting broken. It was the middle of the drought season, the river was low, and we had to step out the boat every so often, push the boat to a safer place, and continue upriver. It broke so many times, so many times, that night fell on us. It was not a night like you have ever seen a night, and only those who have been in the jungle know what the night in the jungle is like. You cannot see your hand, but the deafening sound is like you are in the middle of Times Square. Anything sounds. Creatures of any times are screaming around you, and you only are alone in the middle of the river, 5 people who don't know each other, and we can hear the rapids, and the motor would not go. So eventually the Indians started making this sound. And somebody, somewhere, magically answered to that faint call for help. We made it shore, and we were greeted by Wild Hog, that was the guardian dog, into this refuge, and we were accompanied by this guardian dog, even to the outhouse. We spent the night in hammocks. We were grateful to our host, and the next day, hungry and tired, we continued upriver to our destination, the Angel Falls. We were passing now Jurassic time blocks that had the watermark for where the river should have been, but the river was almost dry because it was the middle of the drought season. And this is common. This is not that the river is dying or anything. This is common cycle in the jungle, right? It gets a rainy season, the river gets flooded. It's a dry season, the river gets very low. Eventually, we made it to the shore, and in front of us was the most magnificent view you can ever imagine. A wall of water just falling across the river from us into this river. We were in awe. My son and I said it was worth it. Every minute of this trip has been worth it. But we didn't have time to do the excursion because we got there so late. We were supposed to go on an excursion uphill behind the curtain of wall to see the orchids. We couldn't do that. We just had to take the pictures, get on the boat, and go back. As I was getting into the boat, I saw a New York size, rodent size cockroach which walking by me and leaving a trail on the sand. She was moving like I'm the queen of the castle and you are in my territory. And all I could think, behind 3 pills or 3 milligrams of antipsychotic and anti-anxiety medication, was, this is an MFing large cockroach. And I got into my boat and I started on my way back. We made it back to the camping site, and eventually on another small airplane and another small trip. We never saw the jaguars or the white-faced monkeys, but I have the memory of these tepuyes, the tropical heat and all its glory, and the sound of the jungle at night. An bonding experience with my now 25-year-old that we will cherish forever. 11 years later, in the height of the pandemic, in June 2020, I bought a house in Lakewood that was infested by flying cockroaches. Mind you that I am now a 50-some-year-old woman, divorced, completely alone in a city where I don't know anybody and I can't call anybody for help, and it's the pandemic. Okay? With psychiatrists on the phone, and made the sound decision to tackle this monster without medication. I'm gonna conquer my phobia. And there were months of horror where I lived with the lights on because I didn't want to see what was crawling. I woke up with a stench because for me they smell. I woke up with a stench of sewage because they were flying in the bedroom. I wouldn't go to the bathroom. I got a urinary tract infection because I wouldn't go to the bathroom because they were in the bathroom. And the psychiatrist taught me to put ice on my face to calm my body because my body was reacting. I had to be hospitalized with IV because I was dehydrating from not eating and not going to the bathroom. And he also told me, hold on to your most cherished memories when you are in the heat of the panic. And all I can remember, or I could remember at that point, was the greatest waterfall in the world in front of me, next to my child, showing him that bravery can take many, many forms. Thank you very much.